Ah, woo! Let's go. Houston got an upset win this week. Where did I get this flag? Just found it. So, welcome to Frontline Football. I am so excited about this week, but first we gotta get some serious. Rest in peace to the great John Madden. Your games will always be known, and your commentary and your coaching ability. All those will be known. You'll be one of the best coaches in history. So thank you for your service, and thank you for all of what you did for the game. So after that's out of the way, time to get to the first order of business. Deuce Vaughn, if you're listening, we got dibs on your first interview when you win Heisman. We've already DM'd you this, and now we put it public, so we got dibs. Don't forget about that. So welcome to Frontline Football. After getting all of our business, our predictions off of very limited knowledge that we have as fans. So, roll the intro.
Guys, Frontline Football, we're going to start off with the New York Giants versus the Chicago Bears. I'm going to hand this one off to Jack.
I'm going to take the Bears here. I don't really like either of these teams, but every week I watch the Giants, they just find like new lows of lows. I think Jake Fromm started this week for a half, and then it was Mike Glennon. Either way, I don't know if they even hit the end zone, but whoever they played, it wasn't pretty. I think they lost to the Eagles this week. And the Bears, for once, picked up a win. Their run game performed pretty well with David Montgomery and a little bit of Khalil Herbert. Defense is still meh, but I think Nick Foles can do enough here in Chicago to get the win. I don't trust the Giants to score at all, so I think the Bears defense will also lock them down. The Bears will win in relatively low-scoring game here. What are your thoughts, Zach?
No, like Jack said, I don't like these teams either. The Giants had a lot of potential going into the season, and they've just completely ruined it. And the Bears kind of also had potential too, but they ruined it also. So I have to go the Bears here. I mean, with the Bears, at least they kind of know who their quarterback is, and it's probably either Nick Foles, Andy Dalton, or Justin Fields. Those guys is perfect. It's a better starter than whoever the Giants are going for. So yeah.
Well, for this matchup, I have to go with the Chicago Bears here because the New York Giants have just been getting blow after blow. I mean, Jake Fromm started for a half, then Mike Glennon came in like Jack's, and they have no direction to their franchise. Also, Joe Judge and Daniel Jones will be coming back next year and being extended. So that's something great, Giants fans. And the only thing you have is medium-sized soda. So great job. So I gotta go with the Bears here. The Bears have been looking really, okay. Nagy still needs to be fired. But, they're not doing terribly. They beat the Seahawks barely, but that's the Seahawks. The Seahawks, I don't know what's happened with them. So I gotta give it to the Bears here.
Alright, let me just write this down real quick, and I have to go get someone from the room. And, okay, so our next matchup is going to be the Eagles football team?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to hand this one off to Josh.
I feel like I have to go with the Philadelphia Eagles here. The Washington football team just against the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. I think that was probably the worst Sunday Night Football game we've had all year, and it was just embarrassing just to see them like that. So I got to give it to the Eagles here. They did get that good win against the Giants. Of course, it was the Giants. We're playing with barely anybody, but it's still a win no less, so give me the Eagles here. Jack?
I also have to take the Eagles here. What happened last Sunday night to Washington was not like an ordinary loss. I've seen a lot of bad losses, but that's got to be in my top 3 worst losses I've seen over my 5 years of watching football. That was terrible, and Washington was fighting each other on the bench. That kind of loss is season-ending for the most part. I don't think the team's going to have any sort of momentum or positivity going into the week. The Eagles, on the other hand, 8 of 7, getting really hot at the right time, inserting themselves into a wild card spot. I think they'll be able to handle business here in Washington. While I don't think they're going to do the same thing that Dallas just did and just eliminate Washington, I don't trust Washington in the slightest. I think the Eagles would get the job done here and move to 9-7. What are your thoughts, Zach?
I also have the Eagles here. I believe that Jalen Hurts, if he is the starter, if even Minshew is the starter, they will do probably better than whatever the Washington football team is bringing out on the field every single week. They had a fight, like Jack said, on the sideline, and it was not even to the opposite team. It was to each other. This is ruining locker room chemistry. I believe Ron Rivera should not be fired, but he should start looking into what Ron Rivera is doing with this team, because obviously the chemistry is not there. They didn't bring in any new people during the offseason last year, and even at this time, they should all have decent chemistry with each other. So I have the Eagles beating the Washington football team. Our next matchup is the Arizona Cardinals versus the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to take this one. Cardinals, I told you you would ruin my trust if you lost to the Colts. I don't trust you anymore. You should just rest your starters and call it the night. I have the Cowboys beating the Cardinals. The Cowboys have a very high-powered offense, just like the Cardinals. It's just, the thing is, the Cardinals have an off switch. I believe that the Cowboys do have an off switch to this offense. So I have the Cowboys beating them. They just play a lot better. They play with heart, unlike this Cardinals team. Jack.
I also have to go with the Cowboys here. I thought that this week would be the week that the Cardinals finally figured it out. The Colts had a lot of COVID people. I don't think they had a single starting offensive lineman for JT to run behind, and he still somehow got 100 yards. And not to mention, Dallas' defense these last couple weeks, they've been flying around. They're upping their skill. Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs got another interception, if that means anything to you. But overall, they're amping it up on defense at the right time, and they can also keep up offensively relatively well. I think they'll get the job done here in AT&T Stadium, and they'll get the win. What are your thoughts, Josh?
I have to go with the, I'm going to say the Cowboys. I don't believe in the Cardinals. I watched that Christmas Day game. It was a really good game. It was boring, but it was really good. Just, there seemed to be a lot of miscues, especially at the center. It was his first game in, but, oh my gosh. You can't be just snapping the ball on audible and having that many missed snaps as an NFL level. It really just showed how much they need Rodney Hudson, and they need that line to be really good. Because Murray, he seemed like he was making up for his team's mistakes most of the time in that game. Because his receivers were great, but he can never get to them because his line play. And the kicker, oh my gosh, Matt Prater, just please do better this week. I really said that you should have been cut after that game because of how many kicks that you missed. You're probably one of the reasons why they lost. It's really a team effort there. But the Cowboys, like Jack said, they blew out the Washington football team. They're here, and they're here right now. They could win the first seed if the Packers drop a game. So, give me the Dallas Cowboys winning here.
All right, our next matchup is the Carolina Panthers versus the New Orleans Saints. I'm going to hand this one off to Jack.
I will take the Saints here by a tad. I understand that the Saints Monday night, that was not pretty at all. Mr. Ian Book, I'm sorry. That was not a good start to your career at all. But the good news is I think they get one of their quarterbacks back, Taysom or Simeon. I think it's Taysom. I think that'll be enough, though. The Panthers have been free-falling for a long time now. It's been a while where they've just been falling on their face. Saints defense, well, they didn't do, amazing. They didn't give up, a ridiculous amount of points. Losing 20-3, I think it was, isn't awful from a defensive perspective. So if the Saints can just get a little healthier on the offensive side of the ball, force some Sam Darnold turnovers since he's finally back in the starting lineup, I think they'll be able to get the job done here in the Superdome to hold on to that slim hope of a playoff berth. What are your thoughts, Josh?
I have to go with the Carolina Panthers here. Now, Matt Rule said some really weird stuff about how it took Jay-Z 7 years to become famous, just like how it's going to take a rebuild with the Panthers. But I think he's making a big miscalculation there. Jay-Z was doing that from a lot of, some industry money and some of his own money. And he had all the time in the world, basically, to become a good artist. Matt Rule, the coaching job is very hard to stay relevant in. And if he doesn't start getting this team together, especially that quarterback room, he's going to be back coaching college again if this keeps going on. So I'm going to say the Panthers are winning here, but only because the Saints seem a little bit more dysfunctional in that quarterback room. But this will not be a good game, folks. So if you're planning on doing it, just don't. If you're going to do that, just watch NFL Red Zone. Because this game is going to be very bad quarterback play, very good defense. So give me the Panthers.
All right. I have the Saints here. It's kind of obvious. They're getting their, not Jameis back, but they're getting their starting quarterback back. And the problem is with Matt Rule, he has a great team if they're healthy, like CMC. But, this defensive battle is not really going to be a defensive battle because I feel like Taysom will not pass well, but he'll just run all over them. And it's just the Saints have a little bit of a better team than the Carolina Panthers do. It's just like that. So, yeah, I have the Saints here. Our next matchup is going to be the Seattle Seahawks versus the Detroit Lions. I'm going to take this one. I believe the Lions are going to win. This is a shock to most people, but this Lions team plays with heart, which they beat the Cardinals with it. I believe that they could beat the Seahawks with it because the Seahawks are really bad. If you lose to the Bears, one of the worst teams I've ever seen, then you probably will lose to the Lions. The Lions play with a lot of intensity that if they can just get some good players and talent, they're going to be a really good team coming soon. So, yeah. Now, I believe the Seahawks will be ready for it. Jack?
I'm also going to have to go with the Lions here. I normally don't pick the Lions because most of the time their upsets kind of come out of nowhere. But I feel like something's finally changed in Seattle as an organization. Losing to Chicago by giving up a 2-point conversion to Damiere Byrd is not the way you want to go out. Eliminating yourself from the playoffs and getting a winning record, both are, I think they've missed the playoffs only once before under Russ's tenure in Seattle. I think this will be the first time they've ever had a losing record with Russell Wilson. It just feels like there's not a lot of hope left within Seattle. This has just been a really rough year. There could be a lot of big changes coming between Pete Carroll and Russ. Are they both going to stay? Is one of them going to leave? Are both going to leave? It's going to be interesting to see the fallout, but the main reason I'm picking the Lions is DeAndre Swift is on pace to return. So that's a nice little playmaker the Lions get to add. Amon-Ra St. Brown is finding his groove. Hopefully they get Jared Goff back from COVID. And overall, there's not a lot of talent, but I think there's enough to get the job done here and get a win in Seattle. What are your thoughts, Josh?
As much as I want to go with the Lions here, I'm going to have to go with the Seahawks. I feel like they're going to get a win here because, well, they did allow a 2-point conversion at the end of the game. Do a reverse Ravens against them. I think that the Seahawks will get a bounce-back win here, and the Lions are probably one of the best opponents to do that against. Now, I don't believe that either Carroll or Wilson will be here next season. I think that there's going to be full rebuild mode for Seattle instead of pretending that they are contenders. I think it's going to be a fire sale this year. Them, Houston, probably the New York teams too. It'll be a big fire sale over the offseason over everything. So I think that now it's time to start tanking if you're Seattle. So I think they're going to win this game, but it's probably going to be the end of an era this offseason.
All right, our next matchup is the Minnesota Vikings versus the Green Bay Packers. I'm going to hand this one off to Josh.
Oh, obviously, I'm going to choose the Green Bay Packers here because the way they looked against the Browns was good. I mean, it is the Browns, but the score did not tell the best story. The Browns were dominated almost the entire game. Rodgers looked good. Mayfield was struggling like usual this season, and there just seemed to be no answer from the Browns. So the Packers are really looking good right now. They've clinched the NFC North, and there's not much else I can really say because they're probably going to be winning the division, and the Vikings have just been so inconsistent this year that I can't really choose the Packers. So I'm going to ask one off to Zach.
I have the Vikings winning here. The Packers have already clinched, while the Vikings are still trying to fight for this 7th seed, this illustrious 7th seed, actually. And if they can just keep getting these wins, I believe that they can, if the Eagles somehow slip up against either the Cowboys or the football team, they will slip up, and then they will be able to take over 7th seed, which they are trying to so much. And I know that the Vikings usually collapse around this time, but I believe that they can get this upset against the Packers. They did it already once before. I believe that they can do it again. Jack.
I'm going to take the Packers here. The Vikings did get the upset earlier in the season over the Packers, and I have trouble thinking they'd be able to do that twice. The Packers are getting healthier at the right time. I think Jair Alexander is going to be making his return from IR, so that'll help in the secondary specifically. We also see the Vikings, they may or may not get Cook back. If they get Cook back, they definitely got a better chance, but I think the Packers, with a chance to start to run away with the number 1 seed here, if some things fall right, I think they'll get the job done here in Lambeau and get one step closer to getting that bye.
All right, our next matchup is the Buffalo Bills versus the Atlanta Falcons. Jack.
I'm taking the Bills. I'm not a big Falcons guy as of late. I think that I don't know why they're still in the playoff hunt. I don't know why they're hanging around, but they have for the most part. Buffalo's coming off a big win against New England to finally reassert themselves in division control, which took a while. The Falcons won a squeaker against the Lions, but not a lot happened in that game. The Lions had like half their players on COVID, so that's not really like a statement win or anything. I think ultimately Buffalo's just going to be able to out-offense the Falcons after a while, wear them down, and get the win in Buffalo. What are your thoughts, Zach?
I have the Buffalo Bills beating these guys. They really showed how dominant they are with this Patriots win. Now, they have been playing very inconsistent football, and I don't believe that they have been playing the best football that they could be. At this potential, Josh Allen was an MVP before the season, and I know how I keep bringing up the past and like the MVP stuff, but if they play up to their potential, especially in these last like couple games, and they go into this playoffs white hot, they can destroy the league. So I believe that the Buffalo Bills will beat the Atlanta Falcons. Josh.
I have to go with the Buffalo Bills like everyone else has because Atlanta, they've just been very weird this year because one second they look good, the next second they're getting blown out by a team, and it just makes no sense why they're... It's just been a season for them. So, I'm going to have to go with the Bills here. The Bills are contenders. Not Super Bowl contenders, but playoff contenders. And they are probably going to win their division. It's going to be a dogfight till the end, but they're going to win their division, and this is their first game to proving that they are better than the Patriots.
Okay, our next matchup is the New York Jets versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Jack?
I'm taking the Bucs. Well, the main reason is I can't see Tom Brady going into MetLife Stadium for potentially the last time against the Jets and losing. That just doesn't seem fitting for the way that things have gone the last decade between those two. Plus, the Jets, while they had a pretty good win against the Jags on the back of the great Braxton Berrios and some Zach Wilson rushing, and they have been improving gradually. Offensive play calling has gotten much better. Zach Wilson feels a little more comfortable. He's loosening up, less interceptions, more touchdowns, which is always good for a quarterback. I still think the Bucs defense is going to give them a little bit of trouble, probably a lot of trouble with the way they play. They could send the blitz, try to take advantage of Zach Wilson. Plus, we're still uncertain of what playmakers Zach Wilson is going to have at the wide receiver position. Moore is not off the COVID list quite yet, so we'll see if he makes it back. I don't think he's changing the pace of the game. I think Tom Brady and Ronald Jones, I bet, is the guy to start in fantasy this week. It's going to run all over the Jets. Once again, Jets' run defense is going to let them down. Jets will make a couple key mistakes on offense, and the Bucs will probably get the job done here for potentially Tom Brady's last run at MetLife Stadium against the Jets. What are your thoughts, Josh?
I have to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. While there's been a lot of different things where bad teams have beaten contenders this year, I don't think this will be one of those games, especially with Brady at the helm. That only happens with the Saints. So give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here. Zach?
What the freak is wrong? The Bucks just have a better team than the Jets, and yeah. Alright, next matchup I think is the Ravens and the
Rams.
It's the Ravens-Rams. I'll take this one over. I have the LA Rams beating the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, this Rams team is really good. They're probably gonna win the division, sadly, but I can't have my biasness into this, and I have very big confidence that this Rams team will make the playoffs, which they've already done, and they're gonna dominate in this playoffs because of how good this team is. Stafford's really good. OBJ's doing really well. Cooper Kupp is just amazing all the time. Their defense is starting to show up more, and Von Miller's just whatever Von Miller's doing. So yeah. Jack?
I also have to take the Rams here. I understand that Lamar Jackson's coming back. That'll help. But I don't think Lamar Jackson would have necessarily made a difference. After what I saw Joe Burrow do to this Ravens secondary, it's clear that the Ravens secondary is just cooked. Between injuries and other stuff, COVID, they just haven't had a chance to do anything. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, all of them went for big gains. And I expect the same kind of energy with Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham, maybe Tyler Higbee, Van Jefferson. Ultimately, the Ravens just don't have a secondary that's sustainable right now, especially against a team with the playmakers like the Rams have. So ultimately, I think the Rams will get this job done. They'll get the win. What are your thoughts, Josh?
I have to go with the Los Angeles Rams here. After these last couple weeks, starting with the Cardinals, they have just looked really good as of late, and have really locked into the form that we were expecting for them all season. And now since they are in good form, I think that they will beat the Ravens here. Because the Ravens just lost to, the Bengals. 41-21. That's not a good scoreline. And especially, giving Burrow those types of stats. Now, I'm not saying that, but you shouldn't be losing by 20 if you are a playoff team. So the Rams are going to win here, and probably Harbaugh's going to keep on trying to go for 2 and maybe get blown out in this game.
All right, our next matchup is the Houston Texans versus the San Francisco 49ers. Josh.
You know what? I'm going to say it here. I'm going to go with the Houston Texans because Trey Lance is a rookie quarterback. And after last week, I've seen something from the Texans that I haven't seen. It was some good chemistry that we were showing on Sunday. There was picks galore. Davis Mills had a 300-yard game. Rex Burkhead went back to Patriots form, and everything just clicked for the Texans. So I think that in Santa Clara, California, the Texans will beat the Niners just because of the quarterback battle. I feel like Lance's rookie mistake that Davis Mills will pound, because Davis Mills has been really this year in the late part of the season. So I'm going to say, give me the Houston Texans here. Zach?
I have the Niners. The Niners are actually trying to clinch up a playoff spot, while the Texans are just trying to be, well, whatever they're trying to be. They're just trying to get away from the sexy edge rushers. So, yeah. The Niners will win here. The Texans really shouldn't be winning for anything. It's just a pride win. So, yeah. Niners. Jack?
I have to go with the Niners here. Couple key pieces here. The Niners had the long week because they played on Thursday instead of Sunday. And, well, I was impressed with Davis Mills these last couple weeks. He's picked it up a lot. Been a nice little pleasant surprise, stunning the Chargers. That felt like a major trap game. Herbert made a couple key mistakes, and while I think Lance could also be potentially make similar mistakes, I think the Niners, they aren't going to let this one slip through them like the Chargers did. They're going to get this done, and they're going to try to lock up that playoff spot as quickly as possible.
All right, our next matchup is the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to hand this one off to Jack.
I'm going to go with the Chiefs here. It hasn't all been pretty for the most part this season, but they've started to figure it out. They're picking up wins at last, and while the Bengals did have a great win against the Ravens, that was the Ravens. Their secondary is totally cooked for some reason, and I don't think the Chiefs are going to run into that same issue. The Chiefs also had a very good win against an AFC North team that was supposedly a playoff team. They smoked the Steelers 36-10, which was impressive to clinch the division. So ultimately, I think two teams coming off big wins over AFC North opponents. I think the Chiefs will get the best of the Bengals here, and most likely some form of a shootout. What are your thoughts, Zach?
Well, I'm Bengals, right? Correct?
Yeah.
Cool. I have the Bengals here. This Kansas City Chiefs team is a very good unit, and I believe that this Chiefs team is they're probably going to be very good during the playoffs. But this Bengals team is also looking very much up. They have a very good team in Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. That connection's always working. Tyler Boyd's really good too. T. Higgins, all those guys. That wide receiver core is stacked. Joe Mixon's going off mostly every single game. The defense is starting to come into its own. The only thing I'm worried about for this Bengals team going into this playoffs is one thing. And the one thing is how young they are. They are not the oldest team. Most of those guys have not even been in the playoffs ever. So the only thing I'm scared of about this Bengals team, I believe that they're going to beat the Chiefs, and I know it because I believe in Joe Burrow. Josh?
I think that the Bengals will win this week. It will be an offensive shootout. And I think that it's going to be a great game. So anybody who's tuning into that, I think it's going to be a very fun game. And I think that the Bengals will show that they will be the new kings of the AFC in a couple of years because they have a really young roster. And I think that they are going to beat Mahomes and the Chiefs this week.
What did you say?
I said Chiefs.
Okay, yeah. Our next matchup is the Indianapolis Colts versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Josh.
I have to go with Vegas here. Now, I know it's a big upset, but as you may know, John Madden did pass away this week, so I think the Raiders will be playing with a new fire under them. You saw it happen when Demaryius Thomas passed away. Rest in peace to him. The Broncos won. So, I really think with no coach, we're going to pull off the upset here on Sunday because they will be playing with a fire that we've never seen before. They've been punched a lot this season, but this will be their big upset win. I'm going to hand this off to Jack for his thoughts.
I also have to go with the Raiders here. It's close, but my concern is Carson Wentz got put on the COVID list today. Not good. Wentz is not vaccinated, so we won't be seeing him for a couple days. He's probably going to miss this game, and while JT can get most of the job done and carry this team, anyway, I think them being extremely one-dimensional with Sam Ehlinger coming in, most likely, that could be rough for them. While the Raiders, I don't know if they could handle JT. I think they're going to be able to do enough here to win, maybe force Sam Ehlinger to make a key mistake. So it's going to be a lot of Jonathan Taylor for the Colts, not a lot of passing. That's going to make them one-dimensional. I think that's going to be their weakness this game. Lack of throwing the ball. The Raiders will be able to take advantage of that and win the game. What are your thoughts, Zach?
The Colts here, just because Wentz is on the COVID list doesn't really matter. JT is such a great player. Watching him, because I kind of did watch the Cardinals game on my phone. Watching JT, he is a dominant player, and the Raiders can't. If the Cardinals can't stop JT, what chance do the Raiders have of stopping JT? So, yeah, Colts. All right, our next matchup is the New England Patriots versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm gonna hand this one off to Jack.
I'm taking the Patriots here. After a tough loss to the Bills, they're going to beat the living crap out of the Jaguars on both sides of the ball. Now, the Jaguars, they're in some interesting situations for the most part. I'm pretty sure their fan base hates their owner, like, really bad. It's gotten, like, really angry at him the last couple weeks with all the Urban Meyer stuff. But watching the Jaguars, there's not a lot of anything going on. They were at 4th and goal on the goal line for a chance to win, and I'm 90% sure I saw 2 offensive linemen lining up at tight end and receiver. So, like, that's a pretty bad sign for your team if your best wide receivers seem to be offensive linemen and Tavon Austin, who I haven't heard of in a while, but he had a pretty good game. Doesn't really matter, though. Patriots are a much better team than the Jets. The Patriots defense will be able to take care of this handily, and I think they'll be able to win this game in blowout-type fashion. What are your thoughts, Zach?
Patriots, I feel like this Jaguars team is literally going nowhere because Trevor Lawrence's development into this best quarterback and whoever gets him will have a really good team is not working. Urban Meyer has destroyed Trevor Lawrence's development. I am happy he is fired. He was such a bad head coach. And now they're going against the best head coach to ever coach, other than maybe John Madden and some others. So, yeah. I have the Patriots. Josh?
I have to go with the Patriots here. The Jaguars have no right to be in a game like this, and I think that it's just going to show because if you lost to the Jets and the Texans and you only have 2 wins on the season, what are you doing? Just, I don't know. So, they have a lot of problems, and I think that the Patriots will exploit all those problems on Sunday. So, give me the New England Patriots here.
All right, our next matchup is the Miami Dolphins versus the Tennessee Titans. Jack.
This one is close. Do I take the best team in football the last 7 weeks, or do I take a team that's been inconsistent but picking it up? I lean Titans right now, slightly, just because I saw A.J. Brown have a monster game against the Niners for the most part. But I could definitely see this going either way. Titans and Dolphins both have pretty good defenses. I think the Dolphins have the edge. But ultimately, I think Ryan Tannehill getting A.J. Brown back and maybe Julio Jones, even though he didn't do anything when he was back anyway. But still, I think Tannehill and A.J. Brown will keep the connection going. I think they'll be able to get the W here and beat the Dolphins. What are your thoughts, Josh?
To go with the Miami Dolphins here. Well, I do believe in the Tennessee Titans. I think that the Dolphins have just been so great as of recently. Now, the teams that they beat, but 7 games is still nothing to laugh at for a win streak. So I have to go with the Miami Dolphins winning and getting everybody's playoff hopes up. So, Zach?
The Dolphins here, they're white hot, and I made a bet that they were going to get 10 wins, and they are right now in that range and getting 10 wins. So they need to get this 10 wins so I don't lose money. So, yeah, please. Because I only got a couple games left, and I believe that this Dolphins team will make playoffs, and they will have a higher seeding than the New England Patriots. All right. Our next matchup is the LA Chargers versus the Denver Broncos. Josh?
I have to go with the Chargers here. They really need to beat up Texans of all teams. Not even the Houston Texans starters. They're practice squad guys. Because most of the Texans roster was on COVID protocol. So, give me the Los Angeles Chargers here. They just need something to work for them. Zach, what are your thoughts?
The Chargers also, they need a bounce-back win. I could actually see the Broncos winning, especially with all the COVID cases going on with the Broncos. My bad. Chargers. But I think that this Chargers team will beat this Broncos team.
I'm picking the Chargers because I don't like the Broncos very much. They're too inconsistent and they annoy me. And I made that promise like a long time ago to never pick them again unless they play a really bad team. And the Chargers aren't a really bad team. They're an okay team right now. I also think they're going to be pretty angry that they pretty much had the playoff spot. They had it pretty comfortably. They just needed to get past the great Davis Mills, and they could not do it. I think they're going to come in angry, and they're going to take care of business. Not to mention, you have Drew. I throw Hail Marys on 4th and 10 out of bounds lock as your starting quarterback. So that's never a good sign if you're the Broncos. I think the Chargers will take care of business here as they hope to reclaim that playoff spot that they lost.
All right. Our final matchup, which is going to be the last Monday Night Football of the year. Cleveland Browns versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Back.
I don't like either of these teams, to be honest. But I'll give the edge to the Browns because they lost slightly better, I guess. They have Nick Chubb. I think they'll be able to run on the Steelers a little bit. I just don't trust the Steelers at all. I think they're done. I think the fact that they're in the playoff hunt this late is a little ridiculous. I think Baker Mayfield will play a little better. Not a lot of better, but a little better. Enough to beat the Steelers here. Probably in an ugly Monday Night Football matchup. What are your thoughts, Josh?
I don't even want to talk about this matchup. It doesn't sound like a good matchup on paper. It doesn't feel... There's no place where this sounds like a good matchup. But I'm just going to go with the Browns here because they lost to probably a better team. Less bad, less worse. Not as bad as the Steelers did. So give me the Browns here. Both the teams are not playoff contenders. Both of them are inconsistent. So give me the Browns. Zach?
I have the Steelers here. I believe that Najee Harris is going to go off in this game. And the Browns won't be able to stop him. So, yeah, and also the Steelers haven't been dealing with too many COVID cases. And the Browns have been dealing with a little bit more than the Steelers have. So, I think that COVID stuff and the Steelers just bring a little bit of a better team, especially the defensive side of the ball. I think the Steelers will win here. That's it for our video today. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you didn't like it, hit the dislike button. Leave a comment down below if you have like a hot take on any of these. Like you said, the Jags are gonna beat the Patriots, or the Raiders or the Jets will beat the Buccaneers. You can put it down in the comments below. You guys can disagree, agree. Just be nice there. And Jack, hit the plugs.
As always, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Frontline FB right there. Or leave the links in the description as always. Hope you enjoyed this week's predictions. Week 17 is going to be a big one. Playoffs will be decided. Or Week 18 now. Week 18 is going to be a big deal next week. Playoffs, everything. The stakes are high. Be ready. Grab your popcorn. We're about to see which team is going to be devastated, which team's going to be happy. It all comes down to the thrilling conclusion of the regular season next week. We'll see you guys there.
See you.